to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So on our agenda, let's see, it looks like we have the bookstore one. No? Okay. Okay. All right, that's okay. We're gonna start with consensus items then.
So I don't have a lot of comments on this one. I did want to welcome Justin, since he's here tonight. And also just comment about Coach Dave Hakes. Dave has been with us for several years as head track and field coach for the boys at Belmont. And he did a great job, and a lot of folks truly cared about him and still care about him and his family, and we appreciate the time and energy he gave promoting Belmont track and field. Especially as a lay coach, sometimes that's really difficult to give up that much time when you're not here to know the kids and see the kids on a daily basis, and he always made a big effort to do that and to bring a lot of kids out who might not have participated in anything in the spring. And so we just want to say that we certainly love and remember Dave, and our condolences go out to his family on his untimely passing this year. And I'm sure this is a difficult holiday season, but we certainly want them to know that we're lifting him up and we appreciate him. And anytime you're a coach, your family is also coaching. So we appreciate sacrifices they made for Dave to be with us as well. We don't have, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Jill, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Wiley. Motion by Jill, seconded by Wiley to approve the consensus items as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. We don't have any program updates or old business, so new business, we have policies that are first read.
Okay, so this is a book. A lot of them, actually, a couple of times we haven't already scanned them. This was, a big part of this is the September, this anti-discrimination, non-discrimination policy update packet. So there's a lot of repetition. I did not, in your printed version, include the rescinded policies because they're being rescinded as they got absorbed into new policies. So just note, in the actual printed version, I did not include those just because we already had here some features here. But to quickly go through, just to kind of tell you things you might want to look at, starting with the revised policies. Again, I try to group them by ones that are similar. So 1422, 3122, and 4122, the non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and anti-harassment. If you read one, you pretty much read all three. And so just so you know, as you go through this next month and review them, the things that are highlighted in yellow are the things that I need you to focus on, because those are the things that are options. If I X it means it's my recommendation that we select that as an option. If I didn't X it means I wasn't recommending it, but that's still something that we can discuss. So if you have questions or comments, please reach out. And of course, we'll be discussing them on second reading again in January. So again, yellow highlighted items. For the most part, those three policies were completely struck, the original policy, and just completely rewritten. So that's why you see a lot of red marked out. And part of what made this so long is just some of it wasn't just a few words changed here and there on the bulk of these. The next group of policies, or policy, is 2260, non-discrimination and access to equal education opportunity. Some of these policies were being revisited because of the different or a change in the definition of what sex as a protected class was, and so we had to go through and make some of those changes, but there still are just a lot of options about, do you want to include this, do you not? Same thing, if it's highlighted in yellow, it's an option. I X'd it if I thought it was something we needed to consider. I left the X part blank, but that doesn't mean we can't revisit it. 2260.01 is basically a sub-policy of 2260. It deals specifically with 504 and ADA and non-discrimination for reason of disability. Same type situation. A lot of things are going to sound very, very similar. 2266, non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. Again, there was a Dear College letter that went out in February of 25, and these revisions are in response to that. You're going to note there's a lot of things in some of these policies called drafting notes. That comes from the attorneys at Neola that say this is why this is an option. Think about it. A bunch of these, because of there's differences of opinion and differences in legal interpretation on some of these things from the federal level, state levels. You'll see a lot. Consult with your local attorney if any of this becomes a question.
I think so.
Scott, you're up. Then the next set is 1623, 3123, and 4123. Again, if you read the first one, you pretty much read them all. One deals with administrators, one deals with certified staff, one deals with support staff, and this one deals with non-discrimination and equal employment. Again, lots of repetition of verbiage. Yellow things that are options are highlighted. 2262, this one I had not been thinking, but when we started BEST, there is latchkey program policy, and we did not really update that or include that policy because we really didn't have much of a latchkey, except Boys and Girls Club, I think, was originally noted. So we needed to change that and include kind of our latchkey program as well. 3220.01, we had already done some basic tag policy update, but they just released in September the new policy that reflects the brand new legislation that's going on presently with the new tag. Which, just for an update for you folks, our folks are, I think, in November 11th and November 7th, I can't remember which date, I introduced the new tag application to our staff. So several of them have already applied, but they have until December 29th to upload their documents and finish their application. And by the end of January, we'll be notifying those who apply if they were selected. We have enough money if we would only award Tier 1, because there's 3 tiers, 3,500, 5,000, 7,500 for about 15 people. If some of those get more than the Tier 1, it would be less than that, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now. 1230 is just another update, and it includes things that I need to do as superintendent and inform you of. The one area that I want you to give some consideration of, and I've kind of talked to Beth on this, one of the options was we needed to determine an amount of money on legal fees that I would need to run past you folks. So you every year approve Scott as our school attorney, and those are just billed to us either quarterly,
Once a year.
once a year.
In
One
July.
big bill. So those things are kind of expected. My guess is if we would get into a lawsuit that was going to cost us quite a bit and that we would have to fight, then I would need to be updating you folks on what those legal fees. We chose 10,000, but again, that's something we can have discussion about. It doesn't take very long when you have to consult with someone on an hourly basis. We spend a lot of money, but so far, we haven't had to do a whole lot of that. But all it would take is one pretty involved Title IX or OPR complaint or something, and it wouldn't be very difficult at all to accrue that amount. Scott, I don't know if you've had, because this is kind of your world, if you would say what you think amount would kind of trigger a...
Well, I know where I am every year, it's somewhere between 10 and 20. So that's where I'm at. Usually.
for annual.
I actually looked at it today, it's about 8,500, so between now and July, it's going to go some. You know, the higher the better.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I'm a little self-serving, I don't know.
Well, again, there's different situations where, and Scott would be the first to recommend that on specialty very specific situations,
And-
you go to the people that deal with those situations.
And I will
Yeah.
tell you, in litigation, she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
You go into a litigation that's, you're gonna spend 50 grand,
Mhm.
and that can be fighting over nickels and dimes.
Mhm.
But you get into bigger cases, that's a minimum.
And some of it could end up getting into insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Depending.
Well, and that's,
And then that
you
is
hope
the
you
whole-
have insurance because they're
Because
paying
then they'll
the bill.
take care of the whole, that's part of
Right,
the
most,
insurance.
anything that we've ever had litigation wise, other than when I was doing collection work, it was handled by insurance.
Yeah.
And it didn't cost you guys anything other than experience against future premiums.
Right.
And then the last group, 1617, 3217, 4217, and 5772, this is an old update that I just needed to get done. It was to address the House Enrolled Act 1177 that talked about who may possess a firearm or weapons, basically that no one may unless they're law enforcement and they are acting in their own capacity, visitors, whatnot. We're not a concealed carry campus, I guess, it's a public school. So that was, again, that's an old update that just needed to get updated in our book. So what I would suggest, look at the highlights. You can look at all of it, I'm not saying you can't, but if you want the bigger things, since it is pretty hefty, there is a lot of repetition. And look at the yellows and go from there.
Any questions or comments, or we can move on? Okay. Next up is the approval to pay year-end outstanding invoices.
So this is another one of those December requests that we bring to you. So Beth has to balance the books at the end of every calendar year, and the State Board of Accounts and Department of Ed require this process, and it basically just lets her pay out any outstanding invoices that we're still carrying so that she can close out our books for 2025, believe it or not. It's just, this is what we do every December.
Any questions or comments, or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Wiley, seconded by Michelle. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Michelle to approve the paying of year-end outstanding invoices. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Next is the approval of year-end budget transfers.
So when we do the budget in the summer, and it goes into fall, you're kind of guessing at what you're going to spend in every budget line. And at the end of the fiscal year, we stay within our budget, but you can't have any fund line in education in the red. And so basically, you just move money around. It's not asking for any more money. You're just saying if we had extra money in this account and we were 1,000 short in this account, we moved money to make sure we cut, and schools cannot have a deficit in any of their fund lines. So this just gives Beth permission to basically adjust our fund amount so that we don't have any deficit spending in any fund. Got anything else to say, Beth?
Okay. Any questions or comments, or motion to approve? Motion to approve. Motion by Darlene, seconded by Joel. Motion by Darlene, seconded by Joel to approve the end-of-year budget transfers. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Next is the approval of donations.
So we have some very generous and appreciated community members who we want to recognize. So Zach Hess, our new DARE officer, I shouldn't say new, we're getting to his first semester, and he's been doing great, and the kids are loving it, and he's loving it, and we appreciate his forward thinking and making sure that our program continues to be funded. He has been out soliciting donations for the DARE programs, longevity, and pickle repair, and Future Pattern have both donated $450 and $500 respectively. We appreciate them, and thank you. This basically allows us to do our special activities, brave days with the kids, do different rewards, do special things with our students of the month, positive referrals, things like that. And I'm going to be sending you as a board, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag publicly. Aaron Baker, our high school AD, has been investigating some different options with our main gymnasium. kind of pre-show, if you will, of the varsity game. And he had encountered a production company called Luxido Projection Systems. And they have a sound system and 3D projection system that basically they project some amazing things on your floor. All the lights get turned out in the gymnasium, and then basically this is what happens as they call the varsity lineup out. And there's some really cool digital light show with different projections. Just to kind of give you a preview, our girls and boys basketball, and I'm sure wrestling is going to be coming up, all were in front of the green screen because they get their image projected and kind of their call out too on the floor. It's going to be pretty cool with, again, we're replacing the audio system, and this is nothing we're paying for out of operations or education. Got quite a bit of donation. So we want to thank J&D Real Estate Ventures for a $25,000 donation toward that. And we have some other folks that either we've already recognized for donating for the sound system or are upcoming. And so going to be excited to be seeing that. I think it could be seen as early as the end of this month, early January at basketball. So we're very excited about that. And then we also have one of our new Decatur businesses, Soda House, from the Morehouse family, have been doing a lot of philanthropic work here in the community with their new business. And I know they donate their tips to a lot of different causes, which what a great model for kids about starting their own business and then using it to give back and pay it forward. But they donated to this year's class of 2027 junior class for prom. And we appreciate their $600 donation.
Very nice. Those are some amazing donations.
There are. Thank you.
Any questions or comments or motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Michelle, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jill. Motion by Michelle, seconded by Jill to approve the donations as presented. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
So I did just want to comment for one moment why I have a mask on. The stomach bug hit my family, which I think is hitting the elementary pretty hard right now, and I didn't want these folks here to necessarily be exposed to my exposure. So this is just a courtesy as we're all busy here in the holidays. Believe it or not, end of semester is here, so in here just a couple short weeks, high school will be giving final exams. We are in full holiday preparations. We already have a month of dress-up days. Still by far the favorite is PJ Day. Low maintenance, low fight at home, getting the kids out the door. Kids have been going to Penguin Patch in the elementary, which is where we have a little gift store, and we have volunteers that help the kids shop for gifts for their loved ones, and so that's cool. And I had to have a conversation with my own kid that, the purpose of that was not to buy yourself a gift. Buy mom and dad. Which I did, Mom. I bought all those first, and then I saved my money. But it's fun, and it's fun for them, and we appreciate the parent volunteers who come and help the kids do that. It's a great experience for them, not only to manage money, but also to, again, that lesson of Christmas is about the giving and the gifts that you give, not just what you receive. Let's see. Delays and cancellations, boy, last week hit us hard. Wasn't expecting that early in December. Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. I know we were, several of us, talking to an area superintendent south of us, which usually they don't have as much, and I think he said they have already canceled more days than by the 11th of December than they canceled all last year.
Oh, wow.
So, hopefully this is just a blustery start to December, and then it'll. Curricular fees, I am going to be sending something more out to families. I'm getting a presentation put together to kind of explain the changes in curricular fees. So we did send out information to folks with what their invoices would be. Yes, the holidays felt tight for all of us, I think, but I wanted people to have a heads up because I think the initial due date is the end of February. We wanted people to be thinking about that as they're finishing their taxes and things. But the big message is, no matter what your capacity to pay is, all we would like to do is just have an opportunity to communicate with you about that, and whatever you have the ability to pay, however little, as long as there's a good-hearted and conscientious effort, we'll certainly work with anyone. So I don't want anyone to stress about it. Please just communicate with us, and we'll work out whatever we need to work out with you. But the overriding message, and again, I'll get into more particulars than what I send out, is there have been several different legislative things that have happened that have increased the demand on our education fund as far as needing to increase first-year teacher salaries, which consequently then increases everyone else's. Having to increase the amount we have to contribute toward retirement funds, 4% increase in insurance premiums. However, there was not an increase in how much the state was applying toward curricular fees, despite schools pointing out that that had been grossly underestimated 2 years ago when they started doing this. Be that as it may, what that means is the 2% increase that was advertised for public schools really, for some of us, ended up being a deficit when you took off the curricular fees that they weren't reimbursing separately and applied toward just what our normal basic grant was. So when you have increased expenses that are outside your control, decreased revenue that's outside your control, you don't have a lot of other options but to try to bring in revenue in some of the few ways we have. We're not going to make a lot on curricular fees. Curricular fees this year, we spent around $638,000. Unfortunately, that is a lot more than we normally would have to spend for a couple reasons. Number one, for technology, we had had some reserves in money that we had been quote unquote saving before we had to start paying for textbook fees. That was depleted at the end of last year. So basically all technology fees were going to be coming straight out of the education fund. The second thing was, as everyone probably, if you have a younger kid, the Science of Reading initiative is great, and I think it's really going to help move the needle for a lot of kids, and it has. But we all had to adopt potentially new curriculum, state mandated. Usually when you adopt new curriculum historically in schools, you get to pay for it over 5 years. I don't know if textbook companies have just gotten smarter or they're feeling the pinch too. Now they want it all up front. So that is a huge impact and pressure on our education fund in that first year. We did get them to agree to take payments over 18 months instead of all up front. But that's another $250,000 we weren't expecting. I would say in general, we are having to pay it close to $250,000 more than we normally would pay for curricular fees this year when it all comes down to it, and probably a little more. We usually expect to have to absorb $80,000 to $100,000 back when we were charging. That wasn't typical. We're going to have to absorb that much for different reasons because there are folks who can't pay. But I hope people know that we did go through everything, and there's nothing that was a textbook or textbook item that was charged for. It was simply technology for courses that don't use technology as the primary means of delivering their curriculum, and consumables. And those things add up, just like any trip to the grocery store today. So we did go through and we did minimize some of the expenses. For example, lab classes always cost more because of the number of materials you have to have. If you're going to do sculpture and art, for example, clay is expensive, glazes are expensive. If you're going to take an AP science class and have a lot of labs, those things get expensive too. So anyway, be looking out for a little bit more specifics on what we're charging, why we're charging, so that you can have a better understanding of that. But the overriding message is, don't stress about it. Please just reach out and we'll talk through it and we'll get through it. And then the holidays. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday. Thank you folks for everything you do all year. There's not a lot of thank that comes to doing public service jobs sometimes, and this isn't much, but please take this as a token of our thank you for what you have done and what you do. And everyone listening, I hope everyone has a great holiday and gets an opportunity to enjoy it with their family and friends. And life gets so hectic sometimes and harried. I hope that you get to slow down and get to really take that moment. I sent a newsletter out, I think it finally went out yesterday.
Your message was very nice.
But it is true that we are lucky, for as much as we worry about them and we get caught up in the busyness in education, we do have one of the best jobs of seeing the littles and seeing children, the holidays through kids' eyes. But that's really what it's all about, the innocence. And so I just wanted to really encourage everyone to think about what Christmas was like when you were a kid and what you looked forward to and what you wanted it to be. But that is a great thing that we get to do, is we get to see that. And they get so excited for every little thing about it, and it's palpable. And so I wish everyone has that opportunity to see Christmas through the eyes of a child. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Karen. Next, we have any other matters to come before the board? Board member or public comment?
Thank you for this. This is
Yes.
so lovely, and just seeing it's all handmade and homemade, which is
Incredible.
above and beyond. That's really cool. Thank
Trying to
you
get
very
back to my
much.
homesteading roots, but
Yeah.
and I remembered why I left the farm. No, I enjoyed it. It actually was cathartic for me because I love to cook and I love to garden and all those things. So finally, I just said, I'm doing it.
Very personal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it. We will adjourn.
Thank you.